Joining me now, Tudor Dixon, host of the Tudor Dixon podcast. Tudor, it's wild to watch the communist in the way he uses language. They started in on this a couple years ago, democracy, 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 just kind of peppered it out there and prepping the ground for people. Now, people think that's what we are.
Of course. Well, that's the plan, is to, that's why he invented the internet, Jesse. I don't know if you remember that. But he did that so that he could teach us all the word democracy, and then we could believe that that's what we are, and then ultimately we would all get in line. But I mean, they're really pushing us to get in line on this climate change. And this is, we just had somebody talking about this the other day saying, even behind the scenes, that climate change is a hoax, that all of these journals are trying to make people say climate change is real just so that they can get more grants to do more research to manipulate us on climate change. It's ridiculous, but it is affecting some of us in really serious ways, like the state of Michigan, where we now will have our police officers in EV vehicles. And what happens when that vehicle is not charged and you're in the middle of one of the most violent cities in America?
Yes, and Michigan has a few of those cities now, don't they, Tudor?
Too many, actually. I mean, we have 5 of the top 20. It's ridiculous. It's very sad when you look at Detroit, when you look at Lansing. Lansing, I think, is the 18th most violent city in the country. That's our capital city. That is where we just saw a school shooting last year at Michigan State. We've also seen many murders there in the years since that. And yet we're going to put our police officers in EV vehicles, which I think aren't those even a danger when you have this giant battery and you're out there trying to fight crime? Aren't you a target for people to just attack that vehicle and potentially do something even more dangerous to our police officers? The whole thing is ridiculous, but it's all based on this lie that they want you to believe that EV vehicles are somehow not coming from being powered from a coal plant.
Tudor, why are they converting everything? How did all this happen? Why is this happening?
Well, we are so fortunate that we not only have had one governor that became the energy secretary, even though she says that it's much better to actually use oil and gas, but she's a little confused. But now we have Governor Whitmer, who has decided that this is going to be her stamp of approval for president. And in fact, I've heard that she still thinks that she will be running for president in 2024. She still thinks that Joe Biden won't be the choice. And so she believes that if she goes out there with this radical agenda in the state of Michigan, where she is going to take we're going to be completely renewable energy by 2040. But you have to understand, right now we're about 16% renewable energy, and she thinks that by 2035, she will have us at 50%. This is completely insane. After just last year, she had our nuclear plant shut down. We could have continued running that. There were options for her to try to keep that online. And then once she realized what she had done by allowing that to shut down, she started to scramble and look for buyers. Now they're trying to restart it, and it looks like they're going to have trouble with that. So I guess in the state of Michigan, we'll be relying on windmills and solar power. And I got to tell you, Jesse, those things are hard to shovel snow off of.
Tudor, you're a much kinder person than I am, which I realize is not difficult. But I got to tell you, when you tell me things like that, I think back to the election where you just ran against her and how she won, and she didn't win by 1 point. And I say to myself, this is what the people of Michigan want. And if it's just because they love abortion so much, then this is what they deserve.
Well, I think I will argue, because I will always argue this with you, that we as Republicans are not as sharp in the election cycle as the Democrats are, and we've got to get ourselves together. We've got to get with it. We've got to have the right messaging. These are things that we should have been hitting her on, and we should have had the money and the advertising out there to do it. And the Republicans are not putting money into their races, and the Republican teams are not focused on the right message. Why would this not be the right message? Look, they're also trying to shut down Line 5 in the state of Michigan, which will completely impact the Upper Peninsula, but also the Lower Peninsula. Anybody who's using propane is just out of luck. And there's no way you're going to have 2,500 trucks a day going across the Mackinac Bridge. This is insane, but they're very close to doing it. And this is the messaging that Republicans are missing out on, because we're getting caught up when the Democrats come after us and they say, oh, this person is evil because of this. We're not able to get out of that. We're being defined, and we're not able to define the other side.
What happened to Detroit? Tudor, and I realize that's a long story, but tell it. I want to know what happened to Detroit. The American history of Detroit is fascinating, how it became this wonderful manufacturing hub and was a finance giant. I mean, Detroit helped win World War II, and now Detroit it's a punchline. I wish it wasn't, but it is a punchline nationally. We'll go to Detroit. It's a joke. How did we get here?
I always say, you don't hear people like, where are you going on spring break? Oh, I'm going to head out to Detroit. That's our spring break. No, of course not. And that was this whole entire state of Michigan. When you talk about World War II, I mean, we had a factory here, and World War II, that factory was immediately turned over and started making bombs. The state of Michigan was the state that you went to manufacture. That is not the case now, and every day Whitmer pushes more and more manufacturing out of the state of Michigan. There are a few things that happen. Democrats got control. Energy is way too expensive in the state. Manufacturing is leaving, but the city of Detroit specifically, the folks in the city of Detroit, they could not pull themselves out of poverty if they tried, because the regulation in the city of Detroit by the Democrat city managers and the Democrat mayor are so extreme that you would have to be a billionaire to go in there and be able to start your own business. It is disgusting. It is the Democrat elite holding people down and saying, we don't care if you want to rebuild your city and you want to live in a beautiful community. We will continue to make sure that the overregulation is so extreme, you can't even purchase your own business. You can't even get through the licensing to make sure that you could purchase your own business.
You know, Tudor, is Michigan blue now? We really need Michigan to at least go back to being purple. It looks really blue from down here in Texas, Tudor. Is it just blue now?
No, that's the beauty of Michigan. We have the opportunity to make sure that we get Republican voters out. There are way more Republican voters in the state of Michigan than there are Democrat voters. But like I said, over the past few years, we've been really remiss in trying to get people out and using the latest technology to do so. You will still see Republicans say, we're going to door knock on every door, while Democrats are getting a message to everybody's cell phone. And that's something that we've got to make sure we are reaching out to these people and we are educating them. They don't know every bill that's going by. Not everybody is watching TV. They don't even know that this is about to happen to them with EVs. They don't know this is about to happen to them with the climate bill. We are remiss in educating the public about what the Democrats are doing. So as soon as we get that message out there, as soon as we are effective messengers and we are doing the same things that the Democrats are doing, those people are going to come out and say, no, you're not going to do this to my state. But it falls on us to make sure they are educated, because the other side is doing a great job and we need to be right out there with them.